Good morning, community. Welcome to another day here where we get to study God's word together, where we truly get to be better together. I am out of it this week with just work and some follow up things. So I'm going to lean in and try to get us into some deep context in just a few minutes again so that we can have some nuggets to fall into on today, have some nuggets to really process in our souls. I saw Lee's message yesterday when she said we were eating good over here in the community yesterday off of just some quick nuggets, off of just the conjunction word. For any of you who joined us yesterday, do y'all remember which powerful conjunction we utilized yesterday to really give us a sense of direction, a sense of being connected to what Jesus was allowing us to know in the passage? I'm saying good morning to everybody who's coming in while waiting to see which Bible scholars were on this morning. I see the answers rolling in. Come on in the room. Absolutely. But is there anybody else like me who's raising your hand today saying, yeah, I was really trying to apply that thing? I was really trying to understand that there is a but option and there is an and option. When the world is doing whatever the world is doing, I can and do that too, or I can but. So I see you all saying, but yes, I have an option. I do not have to process and do things the world's way. And yes, it may take a moment to relearn certain behaviors, to relearn certain mindsets and thinking processes, to relearn certain emotions, to recreate and recalibrate my narrative about who God is and thus who I am. But I am in the process of working on the but. So I see you all saying but on this morning, and that's where we want to conclude, or that's where we want to take off. We're going to let that be our launching space on today as we just process yesterday just a bit more and bring all of that together. We went with the word but from John chapter 8. For those of you who are meeting us there, John chapter 8 verse number 1, just a very critical setting of this passage. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. And so for those of you who are tracking, you're welcome, if you were not able to do so, to go back and listen to yesterday's lesson. It begins to lay the groundwork for our next faith sibling that we will be learning about. The woman who was caught in adultery, guilty but growing. That's where we're going with this faith sibling. So you're welcome to listen to yesterday's session to get that framework. But we understand that there were lots of things happening as it relates to Jesus, who is currently center stage for this story. There were lots of things happening as it relates to Jesus, but the next chapter starts off with but. And let's get right back there this morning in that but space, this idea that there was attraction, there was a cadence, there was a thing happening in the world and with everyone else, but Jesus began to choose something differently. I welcome all of us into that space as we lean in with the community, as we continue to do our theme 2023, being well and being whole. Will somebody please receive that again with me on this morning? Being well and being whole. And I continue to remind us that does not mean that it is an easy process, that it is that is a turnaround process. But we are seeing through the faith siblings that the Lord is allowing us to lean into, that although things may tarry, they do show up. Although things may take a while, He does deliver. Although it may seem like it's a moment coming, He who has promised is faithful, and the faithful one has promised, and that is our hope. And I am literally living right now where that is the hope. That is the hope, remembering that the faithful one has promised and the one who has promised is faithful. So thank you for being here on this morning. Remember to check in under the video with a quick like or quick heart to let us quickly see your names, to let us know that you're here. That's different than hitting a heart down in the comments. You literally have to go up under the video and tag in to let us know that you're here. Again, we're at John chapter 8, and as we lean into our fall series, Dear God, You've Got Mail, it's this idea that I am sure some of these people were waiting and feeling like they were holding on for God for a very long time, but God does do what He said He will do. So, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, and we took from that quick just conjunction that in the midst of chaos, in the midst of drama, in the midst of people coming after Him, in the midst of people slandering His name, treating Him funny, treating Him awkwardly, being antagonistic towards His purpose, any woman can step into that space. Jesus instead chose a but route. Jesus pulled himself away. The word of God says that he went to the Mount of Olives, and the Mount of Olives, it is the space that separated the holy from the desert. Remember, Jesus chose that space that allowed him to go into the holy place. The only other option was the desert. It was a place of destitution, of drought, of dryness, right? And we were reminding ourselves that we have to be present to that choice option. That when life is doing what it does, we have the opportunity to isolate ourselves. But will we isolate ourselves in the holy place, or will we isolate ourselves in the desert? What is the desert? What does that look like? It's the places that cause us to be dry, that cause us to not feel connected to God or to his people, to his purpose, to his plan, that cause us to be far from our faith. And I'm not minimizing for any sister that sometimes that's a hard choice. Sometimes it feels easier to go into the depression, or it feels easier to go into the crowd that's cutting up, or it feels easier to move away from prayer, particularly when prayer does not seem to be working. Sometimes it feels easier, honestly, to survive the desert than to choose to go into the holy place and continue to believe God for what he has said, right? Sometimes it feels as if the wicked really are prospering. Sometimes it can feel as if God is not near. And I just want to acknowledge that so that somebody is not deceived or confused in thinking that if you choose the holy place, it automatically makes everything okay. But that is why we step into things by faith. We don't allow ourselves to completely focus on what we cannot see, but we trust what cannot be seen. And that is that God's hand is near, that he is with us. If everybody will lean on the love button on this morning for the sister who may be in that space, who's saying, even as we're doing the Bible study, sis, I'm trying. I'm really trying to go the high road. I'm really trying to choose the holy place. But man, right about now, my circumstances don't seem to be measuring up. What I believed God for, I can't see how that's going to happen. Trying to hold my peace, trying to have integrity, trying to navigate the negativity that I'm hearing spoken about me, trying to believe that my change will come or my chance will come. Like, sis, that's where I am, and it's not easy. For that, sister, y'all, we listen. I pray a tight grip over your hand on this morning. Can somebody say that with me? A tight grip. I pray and speak a tight grip over your hand on this morning, that you keep holding on to God's unchanging hand, that there is a tight grip between you and your good daddy, God, that you don't let go. But like our faith siblings that we are studying, that you live to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. We speak a tight grip over this entire community as each of us navigate whatever thing has been placed before us. We are saying through our declaration of a tight grip that this community will not let go. Somebody receive that in your spirit. Somebody may need to say that out loud. I will not let go. I will not let go of the promises. I will not let go of what God has said. I will continue to believe in spite of what I see. I see y'all responding with hold on, with a tight grip. I see others just saying tight grips. Yes, we receive that over our lives. So in the end of the day, when instead of choosing to rest like everybody else did in the midst of the Jesus chose the Mount of Olives. It is the famous place of prayer where the Garden of Gethsemane was at the bottom of it right before he went to fulfill his purpose. But more than that, as we highlighted, the olives, the whole idea of the olives started way back in the flood, y'all. The olives started way back in the flood. That is the first time that God escorts it gloriously on the scene. Now, I personally like olives. I've even been to Spain and tried the olives from the olive trees fresh. For those of you who like olives or don't dig olives, that's okay. But here's how God escorts olives like gloriously into the scene. It is the point where the flood waters have been coming on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Can y'all imagine? Like, there have been spells when it has rained relentlessly, seemingly in Houston, like during Hurricane Harvey. I was so tired of rain, but I have never experienced 40 days and 40 nights of rain nonstop. That's what happens. So imagine the magnitude of the Lord then sending the dove with an olive branch. It was a sign of peace. It was a sign of the covenant between he and mankind. And so here, Jesus goes to the Mount of Olives. It represents peace, it represents covenant. May we too drink of that and receive that grace in the midst of anything, that we have the option in the midst of an estranged relationship, in the midst of trying to build a company, in the midst of a court case, in the midst of emotional upheaval, in the midst of a divorce, in the midst of a failing financial situation, in the midst of sickness in our bodies, like whatever it is, we have the choice to go and rest in the place of peace, in the place of covenant. What does that place look like? His word. Many of us named things yesterday. It's music that reminds us of who God is. It's choosing not to engage in the conversations and in the spaces that will pull us down or quench our faith or cause us to start spiraling, but instead to go and put ourselves intentionally in the atmosphere of peace. One of my good sister friends sent me a text on this morning and said, "Listen, I'm going into my prayer closet. How can I pray for you?" Y'all better get y'all some of them kind of friends. How can I pray for you, right? That's getting into our place of peace, knowing how to get to God in prayer, in our worship music, in our cars with our hands lifted, in our conversations with people who are like minded, in our covenant relationships, in our quiet spaces, in nature. I think Sister Linda said that one yesterday, being intentional about getting into the place of peace. So if we were to reread the scripture where it says, "But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives," what we could really translate or substitute that into saying, "But Jesus went into the place of peace." And somebody's welcome to put your own name right there in that same sentence. And you can say, like I say, "But Gina went into the place of peace." Because that is the end goal. That is really, it says, "But Jesus went to the Mount Olives." But when we think about all that it represents, it's really synonymous with peace. So any of us have the option to choose. But Gina went to the place of peace. But Patricia went to the place of peace. For all of you, Jennifer, you went to the place of peace. Go ahead and say that over your own life, even for today. But I am going to the place of peace. I see Teresa joining us right there at the place of peace. Anybody else meeting us in the place of peace? I see Alice is saying, honey, she done packed up her bags and moved right on over there to the place of peace too. Y'all scoot over because Sharice is coming to the place of peace. Y'all make room because Kimberly says she's coming to the place of peace. Regina is saying she's coming to the place of peace. Mary says she done went on to the place of peace. Dolores is sitting right on over here with me and Tiffany in the place of peace. Like, y'all, this is mature woman arise. Sarah says she headed on over to the place of peace. Y'all, I'm receiving y'all with grace. Nigel said, come on, honey, sit right here by me. Nigel said she is gone to the place of peace. Y'all, that is a cognizant choice. Sister Linda is meeting us right there at the place of peace. I see my baby Nicole. Nikki Smith is coming on over to the place of peace. Y'all come on in here. I just saw somebody say there's plenty of room. Jackie says she got the welcome mat out at the place of peace. Like, y'all, we have to choose that. We literally have to choose that. There are so many situations, and Lee, you over here at the place of peace. There's so many situations where the enemy gives us the option to cut up, to show out, to just do the most. But like Marilyn, y'all, we're choosing to get on over here in the place of peace. May the peace of God, y'all. Everybody, you can lift your hands so you can just receive it in your spirit. If you're driving, Yamaha is going to the place of peace with us. Y'all, may the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. I mean, we can't even explain it. May it be, I say, on active duty in your life today, guarding your hearts and guarding your minds. May when the world sends dishevelment and anxiety and uproariousness, may we choose as mature women of God, as kingdom citizens, to really know that peace is our portion. It doesn't mean that things may not get rocky and we may not have some emotions that kind of hit us, but we don't have to spiral and deep dive into those emotions. We can choose to say, oh, Gina, you're getting overwhelmed. That's the narrative that you have about yourself, that you get overwhelmed. You're switching up that narrative, and your new narrative is overwhelming is not your portion, peace is. So you got to retrain yourself, and it's work. When we see ourselves, ooh, Nikki, you getting angry? That's the narrative that you tell yourself, that you got to get angry. No, you don't. No, you don't. Peace. Peace is my portion. Ooh, ooh, so and so, you get doubtful. You're about to go into anxiety or depression. We have the power, Teresa, to choose peace and to begin to practice peace so that peace becomes our default reaction. All right. So let's just go a little bit deeper in the word on this morning. I know that the main part of this story will eventually be the woman, but I think there's some nuggets about this Jesus who's the center right now that we need to see. So it says, now early in the morning, he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and he taught them. Let's stay right there for a moment, Jennifer. It says again, now early in the morning, he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and he taught them. And I feel the weight of the end of this year. I feel the weight of the disappointment for people. I feel the weight of wondering, for some, wondering if it's going to happen for me. Disappointment for some because it has not yet. The weight of it being very near time for a new year, and some wondering, am I going to just be saying the same old testimony that I had last year, where I'm just going to believe God for it next year? And I see all of that, but I think there's some rich nuggets to drink of as we look at verse number 2. It says, now early in the morning, he came again. Can somebody say that again? Come again. He came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and he taught them. What is the significance of just noticing that now early in the morning? So we remember how his day ended. We remember that it was full of drama and cadence and negativity and slander and rumor and all types of things that came to minimize who he was, to take away from his purpose, to declare who he was not, to challenge his existence and the validity of his existence. And again, for every faith sister, I invite you to step into that space, and one, to recognize that what you may be facing, Jesus has already been there and done that. But look at how he responds, y'all. That has to be our encouragement even on today. It says, now early in the morning he came again, y'all, meaning I know y'all said and y'all did all that stuff, and I hear this in my spirit. So to the woman, you're not crazy. Hear that. Their intentions were to break you. Their intentions were to discourage you. Their words were spoken to cause you to second guess yourself. That plotting and that planning was intentional. You're not misperceiving. You're not overreacting. You're not missing it in the spirit. Your discernment is right on point. Y'all hear me on this morning. Your discernment is right on point. You really did see what you saw. Like David, that was a javelin that flew upside your head from the person you were seeking to soothe with your presence and with your skill set and with your help. Hear me on this morning. You're not mistaken. Your mind is not playing tricks on you. Just like your elder brother Jesus, they were attempting to minimize, to cause your doors and your pathways to be shut. They were intending to cause people to doubt you. They did want your children to think you were that type of mom. The friends did want the other friends to think you were that type of person. The ministry did not acknowledge your gifts and your talents and your skill sets. The employer did skip you for a raise that was rightfully yours. The supervisor did recommend somebody for a position that you were deserving of. Yes, they did overlook your contract on purpose. Like, you got to get that's a real part of the journey. And I'm not trying to project that from a negative place. I'm trying to get you to get that what you're seeing and what you're picking up on and what you're sensing is real. But come on, grown woman, come on, mature woman, we see how our elder brother navigates that. You better hear that. Anybody who has not received, embraced, understood, or been made aware that when you're going after dreams, when you're going after visions, when you're going after goals, that the traction is not often real. Honey, they didn't tell you the true narrative. It's the real stuff. But Jesus, look at what he does. It says not only did he show up, he didn't come dragging in and sitting way back at the back. He didn't come in tiptoeing late and missing his moment. It was like, listen, y'all done did all of that all the way into the evening, but I got up. Tell somebody, but I got up. I got up ready. I got up early. Y'all look at what he does. It says he got up and he came again to the temple. Why honey, I'm talking to myself. Why is that significant? Because the temple is the place that y'all start to destroy him. The temple is a place where y'all gathered to mock him. The temple is the place where you tried to convince other people that what he was talking about is not real. The temple is the place where you plan to discredit him. Y'all, Jesus got up early, like, listen, I've been waiting to show up again in the very space that you doubted me, in the very space that you counted me out, in the very space that you tried to shut the door, in the very space that you said I would not have an opportunity, in the very space that you thought I would fail. I'm right back here. I'm not backing down because I understand my purpose. I understand who I'm called to be. I understand my identity. I understand who I am. Some of us need to receive that on today. And instead of cowardly allowing other people to reshape how we're going to show up, we better determine I done paid too much. I done survived too much. I've been through too much to start backing down and playing like I don't understand who I am and who I'm called to be. Not only am I going to eventually get there, baby doll, I'm about to get up early and come to the scene. When you thought I wasn't going to show up, I'm going to be sitting in the parking lot ready to greet you. When you thought I was going to quit and walk away, I'm going to be the one rounding up other folks to come to the Bible study that I'm teaching. When you thought that because you would not make the announcement, you wouldn't allow me to pass out the flyers, you wouldn't allow me to have my rightful place, honey, I'm just going to start something right over here and put my own flyers out. You know how I said I'm going to quit asking for a seat at your table. I'm going to build my own. Jesus showed up early, y'all, not dragging in, not having to convince himself that he still belonged, not having to play like he going to take a seat at the back of the room because y'all don't really want me here. You don't have to vote for me to be in my purpose. The experiences that I've had, the costs that I've had paid, the nights that I've laid to work, the toiling and working that I've had to do, honey, that's done paid enough. If you don't vote for Gina voting for Gina, y'all best believe that if you don't show up, Gina gonna show up. The stuff that you now want to circle around and say, do you have a space? I'm gonna gleefully let you know it's full. It's already completely booked up. I'm not doing that roundabout with my value. I'm not doing that roundabout with my worth anymore. Somebody else better receive that on this morning. You better start walking like you know you've already paid a price to be here. By the time Jesus shows up at the temple and the folk are trying to bring out this woman with adultery and trying to get folk to wonder and guess who he is, dude, Jesus already told me, honey, I done healed blind men. I done caused lame men to walk. I done delivered the folk with leprosy. Are you serious? I'm not going to sit up here and play like I don't know who I am just because you trying to finally figure it out. I know who I am. Somebody better receive that in full faith on this morning. I know who I am. So Jesus shows up early, y'all, courageously, not backing down, not playing it small. He shows up knowing the price that he's paid to go sit himself right down at that temple. Get that part. Get that part. That's why we got to read these scriptures and get the nuggets, y'all. Look at that part. We're going to go right back to verse number 2. Yes, it says, now early in the morning, he came again into the temple. Y'all get this part. And all of the people came to him. See, some of y'all be trying to round up folk. The folk that you call, the folk that you called, the folk, y'all better hear me, the folk that you're called to serve, to lead, to build, to minister to have his clients, it says all the people came to him. Jesus just got in his rightful place, being who he was called to be. Somebody better receive those nuggets for your life even on today. Jesus showed up early in his rightful place at the temple, being who he was called to be, and the people came to him. The crowds came to him. The clients came to him. The waiting list came to him. The folk who were in need of a therapist came to him. The folk who were in need of insight came to him. Some of y'all spend a whole lot of time advertising with the wrong folk. The folk that are assigned to you by our good daddy God, they coming. Can somebody say they coming? They're coming. But here's the space that I want to land in today. This last little sentence. We done did all of this on verse number 2 with our good elder brother Jesus. It says, and he sat down and taught. And he sat down and he taught them. Lee, lean into this little space, this little nugget, Lee. This is where you're going to have your good eating, your dessert today. And he sat down. Everybody say, sat down. He sat down. He sat down. Everybody better receive that. He sat down. Y'all better come on in here. He sat down, Nikki. He sat down, Sharice. He sat down, Sarah. He sat down, Alice. He sat, y'all better come on in here and sat down. Y'all sitting down over here. Deborah, he sat down. Y'all better hear this nugget I'm about to give y'all. It's real easy. He sat down. He literally, y'all, like he sat down. What is the significance of sitting down? I'm first going to talk about that in the natural realm. Y'all know when you show up at a place and you kind of still holding your plate, your purse, and you kind of just leaning on the wall, it kind of mean I'm not going to stay here long. I'm not even quite sure I want to be here. Y'all know how we do. If we kind of show up and we kind of keeping our purse on our shoulder and we just kind of leaning and kind of walking and mixing and mingling a little bit, it kind of means I ain't quite sure about this atmosphere. I'm not quite sure about this environment. I ain't even quite sure I'm going to stay here too long. I ain't going to even get comfortable. The Bible says that Jesus sat down. Y'all better hear that in the context of these folk done cut up like they done cut up and did all that they did. And Jesus shows back up to the place that they did all of that and sat down. At least sat down. Like, I'm not studying nothing. Y'all, I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm comfortable in my identity. I'm comfortable in my purpose. I'm going to take my rightful place. I'm not going to walk around here anxious, looking over my shoulder, trying to see if I belong, if y'all voting on. Jesus came in and he sat down, y'all. He sat down. That's in the natural realm. But lean in and listen, honey. But in the spiritual realm, when we hear about Jesus sitting down, one of the first places that shows up on the scene is it says, and when he ascended back into heaven, he sat down. Oh my God, y'all better be glad I'm in this hotel. He sat down at the right hand of the Father. That is one of the first times that we hear about him sitting down. And in the spiritual realm, it says he sat down at the right hand of the Father, which is symbolic of authority. Y'all better receive it. Y'all better receive it. He sat down in authority. In the natural realm, he's comfortable. In the spiritual realm, he's in authority. Some of us better become comfortable with sitting down in authority in our rightful place, saying, you can't run me off from who I'm called to be. You can't run me off from what's rightfully mine. You can't run me off from my identity. You can't run me off from my purpose. You can't run me off from my awareness of who and what I'm supposed to be doing. Why? Because I'm comfortable and I'm in authority. Somebody say that with me as we wrap up. I'm comfortable and I'm in authority. Jesus sat down, honey, sat down, y'all, and taught them, because teaching, he's the master teacher. He's in his identity, he's in his purpose, and he's in his authority. Y'all better sit down somewhere. Like my Hannah Banner used to tell me, and G, sit down. Y'all, Jesus sat down. And so this is the challenge. Listen, if you know that you know that you know, sit down. If you know the liars, if you know the lies are not true, if you know the slanders, y'all, to women, y'all listen. Stop chasing that stuff. Stop giving energy and emotions to that stuff. Go in peace and sit down, being comfortable and being in authority for who you really are. Let peace be your portion. Sit down and trust that God is holding you up. Y'all, when my friend said, what do you need? I'm going to the prayer closet. My response, even on this morning that just came to me, is I need the God of vindication to show up. Because G got too much to do to be running around chasing down. Y'all, sit down somewhere. Where is that somewhere? Sit down in peace. Hey, I know that can be hard, y'all. Sit in peace. And I feel God's presence. Sit in peace on this morning. May the peace of God surpasses all understanding. May it be on active duty in your life, guarding your heart. Speaking to myself, y'all, because I got some stuff. And guarding your mind. May your minds stop racing. May you have help to figure out your next steps. May your emotions stabilize. May the taunts of the enemy become silenced. May you rise above in peace. Y'all, I'm praying for y'all. Y'all pray for me. May the peace of God be ours. And everybody who's in full agreement, y'all lean in and say, Amen. I feel this, so I'll say this. Y'all tag a girlfriend who's going through some things. Tag them so that we don't hear tragedy on the other side, so that we don't assume that all of our strong friends and everybody's good. Y'all tag them, bring them into this space, and allow them, if nothing else, to hear this lesson and be reminded that peace is our portion. I'll see y'all right back here in the morning, okay? See you right back here in the morning. Real quick, thank you to everybody who's already sowing for November or sowing for the year. If some of you have missed that opportunity or just keep intending to do that, I remind you that it's a good time to sow right here. This is good ground. This is good ground to sow. So if you've been coming, if you've been benefiting, if you've been eating, remember to sow right here. We'll make sure that that information is posted. Actually, I'm typing the website right now. It's so easy. Y'all just go to drginalyn.com. I just put it there. There's a simple way. It just says contribute. Make sure you're giving and you're supporting. We'll see you right back here in the morning. All right? Y'all take care. As always, I honor the greatness that is on the inside of you and the goodness too. See you in the morning.